I've been catching Netflix as of late, trying to go and watch some new shows because I was watching a lot of movies beforehand. And then I finally got my fill of movies from Amazon Prime and Netflix, and I just saw what I wanted to see. There's not much left to watch. So I decided to go ahead and start moving along into TV shows and start binge watching. And one of the shows I was looking at that was brand new that I really was excited about was Hollywood. Now, Ryan Murphy is a producer that just off the bat, I can name on my hand a number of shows that I've watched and I've really enjoyed. American Horror Story, American Crime Story, Scream Queens, Nip Tuck. Those are all great shows. He was part of all of those. And for whatever reason, I didn't see Pose and I haven't seen any of the other things that he's done, but Hollywood I really had a lot of hope for because of the way he does his shows. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't have the problem with him, he is, as a producer, he's definitely out and he's gay, and that's fine. In his shows, I expect it. And in most programming, I expect it. But the way it was presented, he had to have seen the writing on the wall that to see the guys being approached, like, look, okay, a guy that's straight, that's the main character, without, I'm going to spoil a little bit, all right? But the main characters is a guy trying to get himself going in Hollywood, much like the other characters. You're all trying to get themselves up somewhere in Hollywood and become big stars. So no problem there. And they're kind of checking the boxes on certain people. They have one uh, screenwriter who's part Asian. You have a lovely black woman who is an actress that's trying to get herself a big role. You have a gay black man that is a writer. Or actually, that's right. The half Asian is the director, and the screenwriter is gay and black. And then the main character they bring on, who's like one of the stars, I guess, in the movie, I only got the episode 3, and then halfway through episode 3, I said, done, tapped out. That's it. Because looking at it, it was a lot of prostitution. Yes, that's fine. But it was gay prostitution. And then on top of that, that's fine as well. But when you're sort of seeing I've seen in some of these stories that I'm going to talk about right now, was gay predators. Like, and serious, like, okay, you need to do this or else you're not going to get the part. And that's the casting couch part. That's also understood. But when it's like nonstop, like you're basically making Hollywood look like, okay, so this is obviously revisionist Hollywood, and that's fine. I don't have a problem if you did that. But the thing is, it's the amount of like suspension of disbelief that every guy is looking to bang another guy and forcefully. And the idea too is that to make guys turn gay when they're not, you're trying to go and change them. That's where I think the line has to be a little bit crossed. If a guy doesn't want to be gay, you can't make him. And for me as a viewer, I mean, I'm identifying with who you have on board and I'm liking the characters. But what I don't like is the fact that you're trying to go and make somebody turn gay when you think that's going to work out. And the guy has a steadfast, continue to stop saying, listen, I'm not gay. I'm not going to do it. Now, some people, that's crossing the line. Now, of course, crossing the line is the casting couch in general, but Ryan Murphy is trying to make the point that this is going on. The Sheldon Cooper, Jim Parsons' character as the movie mogul, first thing he wants to do with the eventual Rock Hudson is, suck his cock. Okay, but again, it's all of this, and it's like, if he's gay, if he consents he wants to, that's a different story. Okay, but then when you have this one guy, this main character, he's married. He's married. He has a baby on the way, and Dylan McDermott's character, who is bringing him a job so he can find some way to get some work on board while they're trying to go and get themselves into Hollywood and get themselves into the acting business and into the Hollywood business and the show business. So you're seeing this, and it's honestly like, how many times do I need to see this one character continue to be pushed out there as you need to be gay? You have to go gay. That's what you have to do. You have to go ahead and have sex with a guy when you're straight. If the guy's interested, that's a different story. But again, it's one of those things where I just don't get that part. And I'll tell you what, it's surprising that this was too woke for some critics. But this is not necessarily any sources that are any kind of a partisan or something like that. If anybody wants to go and say, listen, first of all, I'm looking at the Hollywood Reporter, I'm looking at Vulture, and I'm looking at Deadline. So they're definitely outside of the script. Hollywood Reporter, the critic here says Ryan Murphy's Hollywood revisionism rankles. So they said that it's blended fairy tale and history to rewarding effect in shows like Pose, but this one is misguided progressivism. So again, there might be spoilers in here, but you got to make that point. So in the story, they take an industry story about newcomers and a biopic about Peg Entwistle, a real-life starlet who jumped up the Hollywood sign in 1932. So there's a fictional studio called A Studios. Now, your first-time director is half Filipino. That's Darren Criss, who did a great job as Andrew Cunanan in the Giorgio Armani murder. It was fantastic on that show. What a evil serial killer that he was. He played the role very well. I know he's from Glee, from other stuff, but he's a very good actor. Excellent. Now, then you have Raymond Ainsley, who is, so he's half Filipino and white passing. Then a black actress girlfriend, the promising but inexperienced Camille Washington, who actually the truth on that is, I didn't see a lot of women in the first couple episodes in the first place. I would have liked to have seen this black actress girlfriend, Camille, a lot more. They only showed her a little bit. I would have liked to see more. I don't know that we're going to probably put her in more in future episodes, but you didn't really give a whole lot of time to put that character forward. She was just kind of secondary. I didn't like that. I actually put her up more up front because she's beautiful and she sounds like she would just be, an interesting character. That's just me. Now, there's the belief that the film's parable about Hollywood treats an outsider could be more resonant if it starred a woman of color, namely her. Then you have Peg's black gay screenwriter, Archie Coleman, and he balks against the charge, hoping he can prove with the script that black writers can pen more than race pictures. Again, it's all this trying of overcoming of Hollywood because of the way that it's been for the first, 25 years of existence. So that, or even more than that. But the talking pictures, right? Now, then you go along, and then there's more going on where you have the studio chief that Rob Reiner plays, and then Patty Lupone, who, for whatever reason, is getting laid all over the place by this one guy who she's paying for, right? They move along with that. So the rest is Hollywood history. Meg becomes the biggest hit in years, garners Academy Awards for Camille, Raymond, Archie, Avis, and supporting actress Anna May Wong, who was originally an Asian actress that was getting shunned by Hollywood because they only put her in stereotypical roles. So there's all that. Now, you're seeing what's all going on here, and Hollywood has been getting middling reviews. At present, 58% rating on Rotten Tomatoes, 55% rating on Metacritic. That's not good. It's inspired a slew of scathing think pieces. The Atlantic summed up much of the critical response by calling it earnest nonsense. Detractors critiquing the series of a soft peddling of racist and homophobic fallout, white saviorism, and its frictionless plotting, once pretty much everyone decides to get on the right side of history and is handsomely rewarded for it. Yeah, the thing is, they're also placating to the studios when you would think that maybe there's just a way at this point they could have done something to make it show that they could have done it on their own, which I would have preferred to see that instead of them placating and capitulating to the studios, which I didn't care for so much. But that's what they decided to do. Now, in this story, they continue on to say, moreover, there's no possibility of any moral complication. Hollywood goodness and talent are convincingly conflated so that more of the kind-hearted character is, the more creative she magically becomes. So the thing is, again, now they say that it's championing these characters of color, but can only see them as victims, then miraculous victors, right? No wonder the show's heart is Lupone's Avis, while its most memorable performance goes to Jim Parsons playing the villainous talent agent Henry Wilson. That's right, he's an agent, not the studio mogul. Given the series' campiest, most delicious lines. So yeah, again, they're letting Jim Parsons' character be the anti-Sheldon Cooper. I get that point, understood. But it still comes down to the fact that I see all this here that just looks really bad, and I'm just not, it turned me away. And normally, I don't have a problem looking at shows where, I can suspend disbelief, and listen, it's a part of life. It's revisionist history. I'm playing along, and Ryan Murphy's very good at this. But I think this is the problem where you get shows that go to Netflix. When you're given a producer, very talented, without any kind of structure of somebody that will at least be there to kind of police things and say, you know what? I don't want somebody to control what's going on. I want somebody to say, you know what? Based on our research and all the stuff that we're doing, I don't think you necessarily have to do this. And you tell them why. The thing is, you just need to set people, there's got to be a little bit of a balance, some kind of a balance where somebody comes in and says, you know what, we know what's best for our audience. I don't want to take away what your story is about. I don't want to take away what the characters. I just think you need to keep in mind what you're doing here to make sure that it stays, to a very broad audience. And you can find the best, you can find the right mark and make sure that the show actually hits a good audience that people really embrace themselves around. And I was really hoping for that. It did not do this for me. So there's one for that. And then we move along, and then there's Deadline that says the same thing about no love for Hollywood cancellations. And then they go ahead and talk about the unkind revisionist send up of Netflix. So here's what Deadline says about this. Now, in this story, I'm not going to drop hide articles. So in the story that Murphy's Hollywood is a community dominated by gay predators, mafia enforcers, and financial hoodlums. And also Murphy assures us by a few zealous idealists. In Murphy's version, the town's talent was managed by a perverted megalomaniac whose star's discoveries all turned out to be gay, and by a pimp who ran a Hollywood gas station. Again, when you read that, it's like he had to have seen that was going to go, obviously, shock and awe, which that's fine. He's done that with a lot of the shows, but I just think he took it to a certain point that it went off the tracks. And I think you could have kept a lot of that in there, but some of what he was doing, the predator part was the part I was just saying to myself, that's just a little too much. And I felt like that's all that mattered. It was like just stress on, it was like, let's not stress on the story and the overcoming. It was stressing too much on the obstacles. I get the obstacles are important, but these are talented people. And the most important story that you could tell right now is that talent will overcome all obstacles, no matter how hard you try. Because you should think at the end of the day, you're going to be able to go and overcome. And I felt like they could have done that here, but I didn't feel like they got it to that certain point. So now, the other thing, too, is that they also make mention of that in 1947 was when this show was set, that Hollywood actually was doing very well in terms of movies and actually doing quite a bit of things. So Murphy's admirers argued that he's setting out to make a B-picture send-up of Hollywood to underscore its historic underperformance on diversity and gay rights. It's an activist show, and that's fine too. But he chose a difficult moment. I mean, if you could have done this, I mean, yeah, the 40s is a tough time to do it. I think he just wanted that because the period piece looks so good. That time of everything going on would have been a cool moment, but I think he could have found a different time. I think they're probably right on this article story here. So now, movies today could use an infusion of loyalty and support, especially from Netflix, which continues to benefit richly from its resources in talent and intellectual property. Netflix, it represents a continuation of television centuries long siphoning off of content from the cinema. So there's something about that where, yeah, it's a glorification. We love the silver screen and all the things that go with it. That's why so many people go to Hollywood, or at least we're going to Hollywood, to go ahead and be in the movies. They want to be stars. And I understand that part. But let's go to another story then. Vulture. Again, when did Hollywood go off the rails? And that's why I use that phrase, because they said it. Jackson McHenry talks about it, and he says that it's a roller coaster experience of watching the show, aka desperate broke dudes rewrite the golden era movie industry, requires you to spend a lot of time wondering whether the show's good, bad, unintentionally bad in a good way, or maybe even intentionally good by way of being very bad. So it's a send-up of the myths of the Hollywood era, full of smut and orgies and gas station employees who turned out to be sex workers, framed within a morality tale about how marginalized people could get together and change an industry for the better. Here's the thing. I don't even think you need to revisionist anything except for the diversity. I think the diversity part, you could definitely play that out. The gay part, I really believe you didn't even have to go this far. We knew Rock Hudson was gay. You could have just gone with a couple of characters and really played that point. Because the gay screenwriter, to make that point of putting him in there, I don't know if that actually worked. I mean, good character. I mean, good actor. But I just think that what they were doing here was a little bit off. And I think he had to go ahead and stress the gay rights more than it was diversity. That's what it looked like to me. And I mean, you could have done a lot more, even with like, you could have incorporated the studios with the westerns and having like stereotypical Western people on board. Or you were doing World War II, so much more Japanese, Asian, bombarding kind of stuff, German stereotypes. You could have taken that to a full level. My point is, you could have really gone out there, but he took a certain couple of spots, wanted to make it sexy, wanted to make it debaucherous. He did that, but I think you could have just kept the debauchery just to, yeah, guys and girls are banging each other like bunnies, and then you have the casting couch, and then you have actors and actresses that you could have. The one thing was, it was gay, it was guy on guy, almost all of it. Where normally I would expect, where's the lesbian part? Where's girl on girl? Let's make the whole thing sexual. Make it that this whole Hollywood cult right in here, all those actors and actresses, they just were openly sexual, period. Go dominatrix, like really show what those parties were like, really show what that whole area was like. So I think you could have gone that part, and then maybe not just go on the gimmick of just the storytelling of this particular movie, because it just worked to a certain point, and then you were able to go and insert a couple of characters that would help to create the movie to be successful. I just think there's a way it could have been done different. And this is me watching. I've done a little script writing, but nothing more than a student film. And I've done a lot of writing in general, but nothing to do like, this kind of stuff. I mean, listen, I like his work. I'm critiquing because I would have loved to have seen it better. And I think Ryan Murphy can do that. And I think the other thing that was missing too was it was not so, it was very serious and not a little tongue in cheek like I'm normally used to. Because usually Ryan Murphy in his shows, most part, you get a little tongue in cheek. You get a little bit of the funny, just a little bit of satire. And we didn't get that. Scream Queens give me it all the time. American Horror Story always gives you that. I didn't see that here. And that's what I think was missing. It's part of that thing I would hope for, especially with a younger cast. That's the other thing too. You had a young, fresh-looking cast, a lot of beautiful people on board that you're going to make stars. And I think with the people that are on this set, you don't want them to be pigeonholed. I mean, even Darren Criss has talked about the fact he doesn't want to be portrayed as a gay character, except he's been put as gay, quite a few times. But he doesn't want to be looked at as just only that, and I can appreciate that too. It's just being pigeonholed. I mean, for the good of the industry and for the good of the people out there that are being underprivileged and underappreciated, yeah, I get that part, but that just can't be everybody. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't think I am, but I think some of you can go and tell me otherwise. So in this story, they said the first few episodes, which I watched, seems like Hollywood might just be able to swerve between these conflicting extremes, but at some point careens into utter chaos, though everyone ends up getting Oscars anyway. And that's the whole point, is that it wasn't structured. Like, I think the storyboard got a little bit too big, and so many pieces you were trying to get, and character development wasn't so much there. I just think they were just trying to get to the point in 10 episodes. Tough. And I don't know. I think one of the things that Ryan Murphy's really good at too is always setting up context. Like, the one thing is, when you're seeing one of the main characters, the soldier, we get nothing about his background as a soldier. We get nothing about the background of the black actress girlfriend, or the half Filipino screenwriter, or the gay black screenwriter. We don't, or yeah, all that. We're not getting the backstories on these people, so we don't have the character development that we're normally used to. And I think I'm missing that part. And even the same thing with Jim Parsons' character. That build-up helps a lot. It gets us behind the characters that we're seeing. And we don't get any of that. So among Vulture's staff, they felt that Hollywood becomes totally lawless. We felt it was necessary, putting in some investigative work. And they broke down the episodes, and they went through everything going through. And at the end of the day, they said that by episode 4, everything breaks. So Avis, who's played by Patti LuPone, meets up with a good friend, Eleanor Roosevelt. And then they can't decide whether they're going to make the movie Peg with a white actress or the black actress. And then Eleanor Roosevelt suddenly launches into a lecture about the importance of representation on screen and how much Meg might mean to black girls in the South. A patronizing vision of history where so many social issues could be solved thanks to the address of the powerful if they could just think about things the right way. Also a vision that still leaves most of the powerful people in charge. Eleanor isn't FDR, sure, but she's still much of a beacon of white money and power, pivoting the season around her intervention, and it makes it all toothless. So again, if you're going to revise, that's another point that's good too. Then make it about, that it's not, white people running everything. Isn't that what you'd prefer not to have? Like, why don't we have, you know, multi-ethnic? Like, if we're going to revise Hollywood in 1947, make it what you're going to make it to be. Like, just break up the whole idea that it has to be run by white people. And I think that's where people are really caught up on. I don't think they're wrong. I think you could have done that. I actually wouldn't have been a bad idea. But again, I think the structure of the show, the lack of context for the characters, I wanted to like them. And I did like him. That's the one thing. The one character I didn't like was Jim Carson's character. I mean, obviously, that guy's a piece of shit. But that was the point. And listen, Jim Parsons, good actor. Great. Got where you're going from with that. But the rest of it, the story just took me out of the way. And it's unfortunate. Because I really was going to like the show. Like I said, there's just something that Ryan Murphy has about doing shows that he really does a great job with. Especially with certain actors and actresses that you never see anymore, or just that are young and they're moldable. And I'm like, come on. I mean, that's what makes the biggest difference for me when you see certain people on those shows. I mean, the guy is so good at getting certain actors and actresses to get the best out of them. Reviving careers. I mean, think about it. Well, not just reviving careers, but also helping people adapt. You see the Angela Bassett's and the Kathy Bates of the world and the Jessica Langes of the world adapting from movie to television. Excellent. And then you look at Evan Peters and Emma Roberts and, I mean, all these other cast of characters, Sarah Paulson, just such great characters he has across the board. And for whatever reason, something missing here. And I think there could have been somebody that came in and said, you know what? This is a different executive producer who was working with, so there's a little bit of change going on. Brad Falchuk normally works with him, but I don't know what was happening here. It's somebody else. But Ryan Murphy was getting carte blanche to do what he wants. He got to do this show. A lot of promise. It's a hit and miss. And it's unfortunate. I'd love to hear what you guys think about it in the comments. Or, hit me back up through email or through my Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, @King of Podcasts. I'd love to hear what you think about it.